Hello and welcome. Today, we're going to talk about something that's all around us, but we rarely notice it unless it's not working. We're talking about design and how it really is the difference between technology that feels like a friend and technology that just gets in the way.
You know that feeling, right? You're on an app or website and you just get stuck. You can't find the one thing you're looking for, or you keep tapping the wrong button. It's that little spike of frustration that we've all felt.
Well, that friction, that little moment of confusion, it's not random. It almost always comes down to one simple word: design. And of course, the opposite is true too. When something just works, when it feels easy and intuitive, well, that's also design.
So, this leads to a really big question. What is it that actually separates the good from the bad? What really makes a piece of software good?
I just love this quote because it hits the nail on the head. You know, it's one thing to make a program work, to make it function, but it's something else entirely to get it right, to make it work in a way that just feels good to use.
So what does getting it right actually look like? Well, we can break it down. Good software, first off, has to be dependable. You can count on it. It should also be efficient because it respects your time and your device's resources. Of course, it absolutely has to be usable. That's the part we feel every time we interact with it. And finally, it needs to be maintainable, kind of like a well-built house. It's easy to fix things or make changes down the road without the whole thing collapsing.
And here's the key takeaway. This kind of quality, it doesn't just happen by magic. It's not an accident. It is always the result of a really thoughtful, intentional process.
And this process is really a kind of journey. It's not about a single flash of genius, but more of a step-by-step path that turns a simple idea into something real that people can actually use.
So, what does that journey look like? Well, at its heart, it has four main stages. First, you've got to define exactly what you're trying to build. Then comes the design and the actual building of the thing. After that, and this is crucial, you have to validate it, check if it's really what people wanted in the first place. And finally, there's evolution, because the world changes and the software has to change with it.
And when you look at it that way, you see that creating something great isn't some huge sudden leap. It's a journey made up of small, careful steps.
But here's where it gets really interesting. That journey isn't a straight line. It's not like you just go from step 1 to step 4 and you're done. It's actually a loop, a circle.
The process looks a lot more like this. You design something, you test it out, you refine it based on what you learned, and then you repeat the whole thing over and over. That loop is where the magic really happens.
You know, what's so powerful about thinking this way is that it takes all the pressure off. The goal isn't to be perfect right out of the gate. The goal is just to make progress. It's a much kinder and, honestly, a much more effective way to create things.
So, we've talked about what makes something good and the process to get there, but what's sitting right at the very center of all of this? What's the one thing that holds it all together?
It's people. It's always about people. Truly good design isn't about code or pixels. It's about empathy. It's about taking the time to truly understand the people you're designing for.
And that word, the user, can be tricky. It's almost never just one type of person. I mean, think about a system for a hospital. You've got clinicians who need it for diagnoses. You have patients who need to see their results. There are nurses, receptionists, the IT staff keeping it all online, and even managers looking at the data. They all need different things from the exact same system.
And that, right there, is the real job of design. It's this act of translation, of listening to all of those different needs and somehow weaving them together into one single product that works for everyone.
All right, as we start to wrap this up, I want to leave you with just one simple idea, one little thing to notice as you go about your day. The next time you're using an app or a tool that you just love, something that feels effortless, just pause for a second and ask yourself, what's one tiny little detail here that makes this so good? Maybe it's just the way a button feels or a sentence that's perfectly clear.
Because in that tiny detail, in that little moment where something just works without you even thinking about it, that's it. That is where good design lives. Thanks for joining me today.